What is up guys, it's your boy Solheim here, back with another Classic WoW video for the progressive Classic WoW servers that are currently in Cataclysm, and will be moving on to Mists of Pandaria in a couple of months. Now today I want to talk about some changes that I would love to see in Mists of Pandaria Classic, compared to how I think it will launch. At this moment we don't really know every single fact about Mists of Pandaria, we don't really know all of the things that Blizzard are putting in Phase 1, and we don't know their plans. Now I'm just going to go into this because we have seen how Cataclysm was handled and the Cataclysm pre-patch, where, for example, archaeology, they could have done a couple of very minor tweaks to make archaeology very fun and way more, well, tolerable during the pre-patch, and they chose not to. So to me, I'm just going to go into this video saying that I expect absolutely none of these changes to happen, but I'm going to be dreaming and just hoping, and we see what happens. But once again, I expect that Mists of Pandaria will get absolutely minimum development time, but once again, let's just hope. So take a dash of copium, and let's get into it. Now, many of the things that I'm about to talk about today comes from me playing Mists of Pandaria a lot back in the day. It is one of my most played expansions. I think Mists of Pandaria is my second most played expansion, with Warlord of Draenor being my first most played expansion, which is kind of fun because a lot of people are giving that expansion a lot of hate, but I really enjoyed Warlords, and I also really enjoyed Mists of Pandaria. Like I just said, it's arguably probably my second most played expansion ever, and I recently spent a lot of time on a Voldemort server out there playing Mists of Pandaria one more time to like freshen up my knowledge before Mists of Pandaria Classic. So one of the things that I personally would love to see in Mists of Pandaria Classic this time, which would be a change compared to how Mists of Pandaria worked, is so when Mists of Pandaria comes out, we're going to be ground bound, and what I mean by that is that first time, when you're leveling from 85 to 90, you are not going to be able to fly. You will simply be using your ground mount all the way until level 90, and you get to Veil of Eternal Blossoms, and you can then learn flying at level 90. Now, I don't really have a problem with this on your first character, because it kind of just takes you through the world, you get to see absolutely everything, but once you've done it once, repeating it on character 2 and 3 just doesn't really feel the same. We can compare this to Wrath of the Lich King Classic, where we had to do the same. The first time you leveled from 70 to 80, you did so on a ground mount. I believe you could buy flying at around level 78, but I don't really recall for sure, but definitely at level 80, you could then buy flying. And you can even have an account-bound tome that you can then send to your alt. So your alt could start flying in Northrend at level 68, for example. Meanwhile, in Mists of Pandaria, we don't have that alt function. So the first time you level 85 to 90, you have to use a ground mount, and on every subsequent alt after that, you still have to use a ground mount while you are leveling. And the big change I would love to see here is simply give us the same mechanic that we had in Wrath of the Lich King, allowing us to, once you've done it once and you are level 90, you can then buy an account-bound tome for level 85 characters, and that way they can start flying at level 85, because a lot of the zones here, they kind of really want you to fly. Getting into Veil of Eternal Blossoms, they want you to fly, even though you don't have to. Like, it's so much easier. You could, for example, go from Valley of the Four Winds into Veil of Eternal Blossoms, and also when it comes to level 88 to 89, getting to Dread Waste, the starter questing location is on the wall here, and for a lot of people, getting to that place is a little bit sketch. Like, not everyone knows exactly how to start these quests on the wall. If you have flying, you can simply fly on top of that wall. So for me, the biggest change I would love to see is the fact that when you have done level 85 to 91, you can then buy account-bound flying for your alt. And one more thing that I really have to talk about, because we're talking about alts here, reputation farming. This will be a massive thing in Mists of Pandaria for your mains and also for your alt, not just for the reputation, but the fact that daily quests actually gives you lesser charms of good fortune and valor points. And also, you will want to get certain reputations with certain factions to buy, for example, Justice Points item, Valor Point items, and even certain recipes. So you definitely want to grind some reputation anyway. The Anglers, the Tillers, there's a lot of bonuses to having reputations in Mists of Pandaria. And the thing is, you're heavily incentivized to do this on every single character you have there. Mists of Pandaria, like in later expansions, we look back at Mists of Pandaria talking about it as the daily quest expansion, and for good reason, because when it comes to farming reputation compared to Cataclysm, you're not just gonna slap on a tabard and run dungeons and get maxed out, you will have to do daily quests. This is like your one source of reputation. You can also get some bonus rep on your first daily dungeon of the day, but apart from that, you're doing dailies, and I would love to see a better catch-up mechanic for your alts when it comes to reputations. And we already have one catch-up mechanic, which, like, it's alright, but I would love to see something better here, and, like, we have this. When you get to Exalted, or actually Revered as well, on one character, you will unlock a 100% bonus reputation gain with the tillers for all characters on this account. Now, here they could do a lot of different things. They could, for example, give you an achievement instead, where for every single character you have at Revered, you will get 100% bonus. And that means if you have one character at Revered, you will get 100%, but if you have 5 characters, you will now get 500%. That is kind of the warband achievement we have in Retail WoW, where for every character you have at max level, you will get 5% experience bonus, stacking up to 5 times, I think it is, for 25%. So they already have the tech for this. They would just have to slap that tech from Retail over to Mists of Pandaria, which is like working on roughly the same client anyway, so it shouldn't really be a problem if they wanted to give it development time. Now, they could also just literally slap the numbers up here to unlock 500% bonus rep instead of 100%, because, like, doubling the reputation gains is cool, but if it took you 3 months to get here, it will still take your alts 1.5 months to get here as well. So Mists of Pandaria feels like a very alt-unfriendly expansion, simply due to all the rep grind, and even though we have tokens like this, it just doesn't really feel good anyway. Next up then, another change I personally would love to see, either from the start or at least earlier than it came out in Mists of Pandaria, is flexible raiding. So flexible raiding is something that, if I recall correctly, it came out at the same time as mythic raiding in Siege of Orgrimmar. Now, feel free to correct me if I'm completely mistaken there, but either way, it came out late in the expansion, and I would love to see this be implemented earlier in the expansion, because it's such a good feature. And for those of you who don't know what flexible raiding is, you usually have 10 man and 25 man, right? So you can do, for example, Mogishan Vaults that is coming out. You can do Mogishan Vaults or Heart of Fear on 10 man or 25 man. Flexible raiding, when it came out, allowed you to have 12 people instead of 10 and 25, or 14, 13, like, pick any random number between 10 and 25, just in case let's just say you have a guild, and all 25 people cannot make it, but 20 people can. Well, now you have to pug 5 people, but with flexible raiding, you can raid as 20 people, and the bosses will scale depending on how many players you have in your raid. So for example, if you have 10 man, then you invite 2 more people, so it's 12 man flexible. The bosses will get like plus 20% health or something like that. Like they're scaling to 12 people instead of 10. And when it comes to loot as well, you basically get 1 piece of loot per 5 people you have. So if you have 10 people, there's 2 pieces of loot per boss. And if you have 15 people, there's 3 pieces of loot. And if you have 12 people, you will have 2 guaranteed pieces of loot, and then 40% chance to have 1 more piece of loot. Basically, think about it like this: every person you have equals plus 20% chance of 1 item dropping. So 5 people, 20% each is 100%. So yeah, for every 5 people, there's 1 piece of loot, and every 1 person after that, there's 20% chance of 1 more piece of loot. Now, once again, flexible raiding is such a good addition to the game, if you ask me, and having, like, if we had this earlier, it would simply be a net positive, and I simply cannot see any negative aspects to this, other than the fact that Blizzard might have to put in some development time to get that to work. So to me, that just, like, it makes it so much easier for guilds as well. Like, if a couple of people can't show up, you're fine, like, the bosses will just scale to that, and if you want to bring in more people, you can do that as well. So if you have more than 10, you're good to go. If you have less than 25, you're good to go. It doesn't really matter. Flexible raiding just seems to be fixing just about everything. And I mean, to go back towards the beginning of the video talking about reputations, like, you want to have reputations on as many characters as you can, so what about having a count-bound reputation? We already have this kind of like mechanic in retail, which means they already have the groundwork for this going, and they could slap that into Classic as well, especially for Mists of Pandaria, right? Where you can now have a count-bound reputation, so the reputation you're getting on your main, you also get on your alt. That could be one way to fix that, but the alternative would also just be boosting these tokens up to give you more than 100% bonus rep. That could also be one way. Now, the final change here has to do with Valor points and Justice points. This will be very relevant to people that are doing the end game of Mists of Pandaria, like level 90 content. And over here, there's a couple of changes I would love to see. Number one, increase the amount of Valor points we're getting, and also the weekly maximum shouldn't really be there, but they've already done this in Cataclysm, so I'm assuming they're going to be removing that in Mists of Pandaria as well, where basically if you come back in week 10, instead of just having 1 week of weekly maximums you can stack up 10 weeks over time and come back and just smack them all out. But that doesn't really help, because the first day you will get a bunch of Valor points, the first dungeon I mean, per day, but spamming more after that, you will get like 40 Valor points per dungeon, which means if you want to get your full cap, that is like, what, 40 dungeons to get your full cap? That is not happening, man. 40 dungeons for a full Valor cap. I mean, you can get Valor different ways. You can get it from your random heroic dungeon, you also get from scenarios, you also get them from daily quest. But for people, like if you just don't want to do scenarios, for example, and you don't want to do daily quests, well, you are now locked to doing dungeons. So the Valor points are just spread out through various different types of content, and Blizzard really wants you to work for your Valor points. And I kind of get that, but also at the same time, we don't want to do 40 dungeons to get the Valor points. I mean, we're going to be spending Valor points on item upgrades like this, 250 Valor points for like 4 item levels, and you have to work so hard for Valor points. I would love to see them double the Valor points we're getting to like 240 for the first dungeon per day, and that way, if you do it one daily for 6 days in the week, you'll be capped. So you can even miss 1 day per week and you're fine, and then you can get 120 for repeat dungeons, and that way at least you don't have to do 40 dungeons per week to get your cap. In addition to that, Justice points, when it comes to buying gear with Justice points, it's trash. I mean, look at this. This is 458 item level from all of the Justice points items. You currently get better than that in Heroic. Do we even have a Heroic piece on me? I should have one somewhere. Did just get a bunch of LFR items. I think I have like one here. Yeah, 463. So Heroic gives you 463. Justice points gives you 458. So basically, you'll be spamming Heroics, and you can't really spend the Justice points on anything. I mean, you can, but you'll replace anything in Heroics anyway. So it feels like you're wasting your Justice points. I feel like Justice points should at least give you 463. Maybe even like 465, but at least 463. At least the same item level as the Heroic that you're already doing. To me, that just makes a lot of sense, and I don't understand why it's like this in Mists of Pandaria, because it hasn't been like this in the past. You spend Justice points to get Heroic dungeon item level loot, and then you start doing raids. Now, one thing I also wish is that Justice points was more relevant after gearing up, because currently, when you spend your Justice points and you get past a certain threshold, your main will get Justice points by doing dungeons every single week to get your Valor point, but the Justice points aren't really going to be spent on anything. I mean, you can exchange them for materials, you can exchange them for heirlooms, but once you have those heirlooms, well, you're getting materials on a very trash rate. So something that I would love to hear your guys' opinion on is, what about this? You could buy an account-bound legendary item like this that you could exchange for legendary items, and once again they're account bound, which means if you have a main, you can spend, let's just say 500 Valor points to get a guaranteed Sigil of Power on your alt, like on one of your alts. So instead of Justice points being completely useless, you can use Justice points from your main to catch up faster on your alt as well. And once again, that shouldn't really be hard for Blizzard to implement. I mean, various Voldemort servers already have a very similar mechanic, but the embers here are gotten from a daily/weekly quest. But what if you could change justice points for an account-bound item like this, and exchange that for legendary items to help catch up on your alts? That would make Mists of Pandaria even more alt-friendly, and it's not really alt-friendly at all, so I feel like we really should try to make it more alt-friendly, and that could be one way to do so. But those are some of the changes I would love to see in Mists of Pandaria Classic. I think at this point I should also mention that I do have a gold making guide for Mists of Pandaria, which if you want to make more gold in Mists of Pandaria, you can check that out through the link down below. It is 85 pages long, and if or when I do make additions to the guide, you will get those sent to you for free. Basically, it's a one-time purchase, and any updates you once again get sent for free. At the moment, you also get the Cataclysm Goldmaking Guide in the same purchase, effectively giving you 2 guides for the price of 1, and you can also get the Mists of Pandaria guide for half price by using the code Solheim. So 2 guides for the price of 1, and that one is half price. You will also get access to a gold making Discord community, where I give you guys even more gold making information for Mists of Pandaria, including early access to content and exclusive content as well. It's already 3 videos out there in exclusive access that will never go public, so hopefully they help you make gold, and there's more exclusive videos coming out later as well. So my goal here is really just to help you make as much gold as possible in Mists of Pandaria, and you can check it out through the link down below in the pinned comment and the video description. Either way, let me know your thoughts about everything in the comments. Do you agree with what I'm saying, and do you have any other changes you would love to see? If so, let me know once again in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and thank you for watching. I will see you again in the next video very soon.